What's happening? Jonny Pickleball here with Inside the Lines. Great match for you that we're going to be breaking down. Anna-Leigh Waters, Parenteau going against the Kawamotos. This was a great match that went 3. The Kawamotos were so close. They had opportunities to take down the #1 team at Desert Ridge. And so we're going to be breaking it down, but some of the takeaways to look for here as we get into this match and dive into it, as it was a game of momentum swings, that's for sure. And we're going to talk about how let's start with them. Let's start with Catherine and Anna-Leigh. Catherine and Anna-Leigh, the ability to own the kitchen line. They were able to just stay on there, create pressure. Also, what they were able to do, as I would look forward, was the shake and bake. They always were able to create pressure with one of them coming forward, the other one kind of hanging back for a little bit, and having that shake and bake to feed off one another to create pressure on the other team. Also, another takeaway to look for was initiating the aggressive play. So when they were initiating and pressing during this match, they did very well, found a lot of success in that. And whenever they stopped doing that was when the Kawamotos were able to kind of dictate how they wanted to do things. So let's look at the Kawamotos, some of the takeaways from them. And again, it was when they decided to have the aggressive play and dictate pace themselves, whether it was through aggressive play or also by resetting, kind of moving it around with the dink, kind of neutralizing Anna-Leigh and Parenteau versus trying just to go firefight with them over and over and over. But when they were actually able to initiate and do those kind of things. So we're going to look for that as this match goes on, as we break it down some. Also, the scrappy Kawamoto defense. They can frustrate a team to no end by just getting balls back. They just kept getting it back over and over and over, making you play that extra ball that you didn't want to play. And then last but not least with this, the court position of the Kawamotos. That one's really interesting, and you're going to see some really great examples of this match where I'm going to show you the court positioning of the Kawamotos, how it hurt them, how it benefited them at the same time. So let's dive in. Let's get to game 1. All right, so we're going to start here in game 1. We're already going to be at 5-2. Waters Parenteau able to go ahead and kind of be aggressive early here in game 1, kind of pushing the Kawamotos around a little bit to get to that 5-2 lead. But you're going to see something here that kind of could start to change things a little bit for the Kawamotos. And let's go ahead and run it. And what you're going to be able to see is the Kawamotos, there's the serve, they're coming in off the court a little bit, dinking the ball a little bit more, dictating pace. But then wait, there's the lob. So let's go ahead and pause it. So the lob comes in. Okay, when that happens, it pushes the aggressive team of Waters and Parenteau off of the line, which now gains advantage for the Kawamotos. The biggest thing for them was, after they've lost the first few points of this match, was that Anna-Leigh Waters and Parenteau were dictating pace. They were leaning in super hard on the kitchen line. And so that made them play back more, a little bit more on their heels. So they had to figure out something here. They had to change up something. So let's go ahead and continue. They get them off the line. Now they're playing back a little bit. They own the kitchen line. And then there's the Kawamotos getting the nice setup here after some decent defense from Parenteau and Anna-Leigh Waters to try to make their way back up to the kitchen. But smart play by the Kawamotos here. Try to mix things up. If you ever find that just the team that you're playing against is just owning you at the kitchen line, mixing in that lob worked very well for them. Let's get right to the next point. Okay, so we're going to pick it up here at 7-4 Waters and Parenteau in game 1. They've been able to dictate pace, own the kitchen line here, and had that momentum kind of go towards them. And we're going to see how exactly that they're doing that and owning the kitchen line. Let's go ahead and run it. And you're going to notice as the return comes in from Jade that they're able to go ahead and start moving the ball around with some middle dinks. And so they're going to the middle a lot here to try to open up the outside until one ball can finally get up high enough to where Anna-Leigh can go ahead and attack, as you'll see there. Let's go ahead and pause it for a second. So they're owning the kitchen line by moving the ball around and then kind of focusing in on the middle dinks, which when you have 2 forehands in the middle from the Kawamotos, wasn't sure how that kind of made sense at first, but they kept on trying to use that to where one of them would try to go to the outside and put the ball high enough for either Anna-Leigh or Parenteau to attack the left or right side of the hip of the Kawamotos, either way, or even at the shoulders. So I started to understand more and more why they were doing it later on, but a great example of how they were owning the kitchen line early here in game 1. Like I said, though, this match was a bunch of momentum swings, and so let's continue on to the next point. Okay, so here in this point, Jade and Jackie Kawamoto have already started to make their move and make their run a little bit. They've started to go ahead and dictate pace themselves and come up with some big points. Now down only 6-8 here in game one. You're going to see Parenteau and Waters try to flip the switch again, and let's go ahead and play it. You're going to see that now they have a little sense of urgency here to take back control and control that kitchen line. And so with the ball coming in, they're owning it here at the kitchen line, keeping the Kawamotos fully back. Kawamotos so good at transitioning forward here and playing from the middle of the court. They finally do get up, but as you can see, the Kawamotos' court position is kind of fading back a little bit, but now Waters and Parenteau are, and then they're coming back even more, playing defense and converting that to offense. And so there it is once again. At the last part of that play, even though there was a great exchange there, they were the ones at the end of it owning the kitchen line and pushing the Kawamotos back. This was the biggest thing throughout the entire match, was who was going to own the kitchen line and who was going to be able to dictate pace. And so great example of this one here, even though it went back and forth in an exchange and both teams ended up getting back off the line, who ended up on the kitchen line and pushing the other one off at the end to win the point and finish it off. So let's get to the next point, but that is a great example of things to come throughout this match. Okay, so here's still in game one. We're all tied up now, 8-8. Jade and Jackie have gone back and forth now with Al and Catherine, and the momentum swings have kind of gone back and forth as well. And so here's going to be a great example. We're going to go ahead and play it, but you're going to see the amazing defense of the Kawamotos and how they're able to just frustrate their opponents as they get off the kitchen line and then just make that extra ball over and over and over. And getting Al and Anna-Leigh Waters trying to just create that error, which finally does happen. But sometimes, and a lot of people yell at different people to stay up on that kitchen line no matter what. The Kawamotos understand the firepower of Catherine and Anna-Leigh, and if you put the ball high, it's okay to go back in order to try to neutralize, to move forward again. So they move back to try to play defense, and they create another ball and another ball versus just trying to stay at the kitchen line and just probably eat one. So that's a great move, great awareness there by the Kawamotos of how to have that scrappy defense come into play. Let's go ahead and get to the next point. In this next point, we have Waters and Parenteau up 10-9 against the Kawamotos. Kawamotos serving here. And so what we're going to see in this play, let's go ahead and run it. You're going to see the Kawamotos actually have the ability here to move the ball around and create aggressive dinks while they own the kitchen line. They have to play defense first, right? And then gives them the opportunity to come back up in this long point. And now the aggressive top spin dinks put them in the position later on throughout the point, right? You'll see it there from Jackie and now Jade pushing the ball back over to Anna-Leigh Waters and moving it around nicely with the aggressive dinks. A couple dead dinks in there too to set the tone, but then they get the one they want and that ball is going to land out. And that point really is incredible because of the fact that they were able to move the ball around, but not only just have create, just dinks, but aggressive dinks that also set up the next ball and the next ball and continue to space out Anna-Leigh and Catherine that ends up getting them off the line and giving control to the Kawamotos until finally Anna-Leigh and Catherine pop the ball up, and then you get into the exchange and they're able to actually go ahead and tie this game up in game one. Let's get to the next point. In this next point, we're still knotted up at 10 apiece here in game one. The momentum has swung back and forth. And really, when we talk about the Kawamoto defense and lobs and different shot selections and court position, you're going to see it all here as we roll through this in another long rally. But they're able to stay in it with Anna-Leigh and Catherine and create and be very creative with their shot selections after a while, getting up to the kitchen line, going back and forth through the exchange. Great hands from all four ladies. And then Catherine even with the half Ernie there to try to get something going. They go back, play defense, reset, come back in, and then throw up a lob. Let's go ahead and pause right there. So when the Kawamotos, they get a little let cord to come back in. But when they come back in, instead of just going right to the dink, they notice that Anna-Leigh and Catherine are leaning in hard to the kitchen. And so what they do is they elect to throw in a lob to what worked for them earlier, was so that they can get Anna-Leigh and Catherine off the line. And now they're controlling the point from the kitchen line. So let's go ahead and continue. There's Catherine trying to get the ball back into the kitchen and transition back forward. They do so, but they're still off the kitchen line right now. And so the Kawamotos still have the advantage. Now they're up. And Anna-Leigh just trying to start something once again, ends up not being able to finish, which also gives the Kawamotos the lead here in game one. Big momentum point, but a nice way for the Kawamotos to mix up their shot selection and create offense for themselves when being in a defensive position on that kitchen line. Now, let's go ahead and get to the next point. Okay, so in this game point, not even match point, this is game point. It's going to feel like match point, the way that the Kawamotos were able to do so much in this game. But, you know, for them, this is a big upset here to get the first game. We're going to go ahead and roll it. But what you're going to be able to see on this one is that the Kawamotos, this is some of the part where it was beneficial for them to be off the kitchen line. It gives them more time to counter versus two of the most powerful players in the game, in the women's doubles game. And so they're actually, you'll see it. Let's go ahead and roll it. But this is another kind of long, long point that they have, being able to try to transition forward. Kawamoto's working their way in slowly, as they're very good at doing. But then they're both going to stay off that kitchen line just a little bit more, which gives them chance after chance to counter. It gives them just more time. So if they're right up on the line when you're dealing with Anna-Leigh and Catherine, those attacks come right at your body very quickly. And so they're giving themselves a little bit of space to try to get on top of the ball and give themselves more time to counter. It pays off, and they're able to hit bigger swings to go at the bodies of or around Catherine and Anna-Leigh. This gives them not only the point, but game one. So big time there for Kawamotos. Let's get to game two and see how the momentum swings back and forth again. Okay, so here we are in game two, and Anna-Leigh and Catherine, they lose game one. They have a sense of urgency a little bit to change things up a little bit. They noticed that when they got on the run in game one, it was because of their aggressive play and owning the kitchen line. You're going to see that. They're going to set the tone early here in game two. I'm going to go ahead and roll it for you. Here we go. Return to serve, Anna-Leigh rushing in, right? Back and forth a little bit. They're going to own this kitchen line. Let's just start speeding up. Let's get aggressive. There's a Catherine able to finish it with that moving off to the right a little bit, or moving off to her left and finishing. And so that point right there, why that's so important is it sets the tone early for this game too. That sense of urgency from Catherine Parenteau and Anna-Leigh Waters. We're coming. We're going to be very aggressive here, and we're going to push you off this line. Now it's our turn. Let's check out the next point. All right, so here we're at 2-0, and I'm going to go ahead and show this play, but you're going to see the aggressive play once again from Catherine Parenteau and Anna-Leigh Waters, as this, like I said, sets the tone, like we last point, of just the entirety of game two. Back and forth they go. Kawamoto's trying to push him back. They get their reset and come in, and they're going to find their moment here to just start attacking. And there's Anna-Leigh dictating pace, a nice angle there to finish off the point. And that pressure, that aggression will carry through this entire second game. And even Catherine will be getting involved. Check it out. Next point coming. Okay, so already up 4-0 now. Catherine going to start getting involved here, and she's going to be getting more aggressive with her shots as well. So there's the momentum. Catherine coming in, swinging, going right at the Kawamotos, back and forth, and getting another point. This will propel. This is the same kind of style that you're going to see throughout all of game two, where they end up taking it 11-1. Catherine and Anna-Leigh just came out with a vengeance to make sure that they could force game three. They controlled the kitchen line. They were powerful. They were aggressive. They kept on going right at the Kawamotos, initiating and pressing. And like I said before, owning that kitchen line. So momentum of game one that they had in the beginning, then the Kawamotos started to press and then own the kitchen line. Now in game two, entire game two was all Waters and Parenteau just putting the Kawamotos on their heels. And that's going to lead us to game three. Let's go. Okay, so here we are in game three now. Kawamotos take game one narrowly. Waters, Parenteau come out with a vengeance, kill it in game two, and just taking it down 11-1. And now we have the start of game three. Who's going to set the tone early in this one? This one's going to be the Kawamotos. Let's go ahead and check it out. That was the scrappy defense. You can see that the Kawamotos are so good at. Anna-Leigh able to serve there, kind of start their way to come in, and back and forth we go now with the exchange. Cross-court drives. Catherine getting involved, trying to set the tone, just like they did in game two, to start being more aggressive against the Kawamotos. Now, their defense going to kick it into gear and able to fire back as they start to come off that line. Instead of resetting, they start countering and coming at them and trying to set the tone here for game three. So I just wanted to go over that point because it does set the tone for game three here early on. Let's get to the next one. Okay, so here in the next point, Kawamoto is now up 2-0 in game 3. I'm going to go ahead and roll it. We're going to see what we have in this one. With this point, though, the Kawamotos are going to be able to kind of push Anna-Leigh Waters and Catherine Parenteau off the line with aggressive dinks, kind of push them away even further there. And then they're going to get aggressive. They're going to go ahead and start taking that point over and over and over. They're going to want that point all the time. They're going to push them off the line, wait for Catherine or Anna-Leigh to pop the ball up. And instead of just resetting and moving the ball around now, they're maintaining being super aggressive here in game 3 early on. And that's going to give them that side out. But let's go ahead and just continue on here in game 3 as it gets a lot more interesting as the momentum keeps shifting back and forth. All right, so we're going to pick it up at 4-0. The Kawamotos actually are on the second server now. They were just on the first server and missed opportunities. That is one of the key things that they have had here in game 3 that they weren't able to take advantage of. They had an opportunity here. I'm going to go ahead and roll it. They just lost a point that they had the ability to extend the lead, and another one here as Catherine returns and comes in. Kawamotos try to work their way in. They're unable to make the shot. But even more importantly, and why I show that point is because not only the previous point, but this point, missed opportunities. When you're playing the number 1 team who is undefeated and you already have a lead in game 3, those missed opportunities come back and get you. And so the ability to not extend their lead going forward opens the door for Anna-Leigh Waters and Catherine Parenteau to start to regain momentum and focus and try to come back. Let's keep going. Okay, so still up 4-0. Kawamotos hold the advantage here in game 3. Anna-Leigh Waters to serve, and then you're going to see another missed opportunity here for the Kawamotos. We're gonna go ahead and roll it. You'll see it here. Catherine coming in, firing and firing. The resets and the defense even get a net cord, but off that net cord, there's that lob again to push them off the line, and now they have the full advantage with Waters and Parenteau back at the baseline, not able to come in, and then Jackie Kawamoto pushes that ball deep, and having that full advantage, another missed opportunity there for the Kawamotos, not able to put that ball away, maybe starting to feel a little bit of pressure as this is a new territory for a lot of teams to be able to have this kind of lead in game 3 versus the number 1 team in the world. The pressure's on both sides here, maybe starting to set in, but let's get to the next point because this game just gets even better. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and pick it up here. The Kawamotos have been kind of dictating everything here in game 3 so far. They take a 7-1 lead. They're up 7-1 against the number 1 team in the world. So they've started to take advantage of some of those opportunities that they had earlier, even though they missed some opportunities as well. But you're going to see it. Let's go ahead and run it here. The Kawamotos, and what is getting them to that 7-1? Well, they're able to work their way in, whether through drives or drops in the midcourt, that transition area, and then you're going to see them push Catherine, push Anna-Leigh off of the kitchen line until they get a high ball again that they can attack at the body. It's a great example of it there. They've been doing it in game 1 when they were able to make their run. They didn't do anything like that in game 2, but in game 3, they're doing that here early on. That gives them an 8-1 lead against the number 1 team in the world. All they were doing is pushing them off the line with offensive dinks. Great example of it. Let's get to the next point. Okay, in this next point, the Kawamotos up 8-1. That means here comes the sense of urgency from the number 1 team in the world. Catherine Parenteau and Anna-Leigh Waters needed to have a sense of urgency here, and they started, let's play aggressive. They started to say to themselves, let's just go for it. Let's go for it. Let's get aggressive again. That's what worked in game 2. Let's go ahead and start that. And you're going to see in this point, here we go. Let's go ahead. This is when the aggressive play starts to begin from Catherine Parenteau and Anna-Leigh Waters in their comeback here in game 3, just attacking, poaching, pressing, and then Anna-Leigh Waters loving to get in forward. Now the Kawamotos are off the line, and now Anna-Leigh Waters can put that ball away. So things started to change. That momentum, they needed to get something going there, and all they had to do was start just pressing and getting forward and just pressing again and again and again. And that's kind of the theme that you're going to see in game 3 here, how the momentum starts to shift back in favor of the number 1 team in the world. Let's get to the next point. Okay, so we're going to pick it up here at 9-6. Kawamotos lead Waters and Parenteau here in game 3. So the previous point, Kawamotos did not uncoil the stack. Usually they have the lefty on the right, and in Jade and Jackie's on the left. as the righty. So they didn't uncoil the stack. They lost a point. Catherine's serving right now, down 6-9. And on this one, now they decide the Kawamotos want to do the switch. So let's go ahead and see it. But what you're going to see here is aggressive play from Catherine, noticing that, go ahead and pause it, noticing that the Kawamotos did their switch, but now after they've uncoiled the switch, it's late. She's late to get there. So that drive is going to come in nice and low, and then they're going to go ahead and pop it up. Let's go ahead and continue. And then Catherine able to fly in here for the momentum that's carrying this number one team forward. So good recognition there from Catherine Parenteau. Got to be faster to get in there on the return if you have to have a slower return to get up there. But obviously in this moment, Kawamotos feel Waters and Parenteau coming after them. So they're already getting a little bit tight here in this moment. They're up, and now it's even closer. Let's get to the next point. Okay, so in this next point, the aggressive play and just relentless attacks now that have carried the Waters and Parenteau, that carries them to a 10-9 lead here and match point. They were down big. They were down 8-1 and then started to just flip the switch. That sense of urgency point that we showed earlier, they didn't look back. Everything was all about pressing. Everything was about going forward. The Kawamotos got a little tight, and they took full advantage of that as that's probably why they're the number one team in the world. So at match point here, you're going to see it again. Let's go ahead and run it. Just relentless pressing, aggressive play to initiate. They have to get in first a little bit. So there's a good drop there. Catherine trying to apply pressure. There's the Kawamotos. And again, here we go. Catherine Parenteau, Anna-Leigh Waters firing away back and forth, pushing the Kawamotos off of the line until they can get match point, which they do. They stay undefeated. Great job by the Kawamotos to try. They were so close. Anna-Leigh Waters and Catherine Parenteau figured it out at the end there to just kind of carbon copy what they did in game 2. Great play from all 4 ladies and a great tournament out at Desert Ridge. Jonny Pickleball here, inside the lines. Be sure to subscribe to that PPA YouTube channel. We'll see you again soon.